So Dylan and I, we planned this skill builder trip to Venice to talk to some experts about rising damp, but then COVID-19 came along and suddenly didn't seem like such a good idea. So while we wait for the air to clear and the world to return to normal, whatever that will be, we've plundered our archive to bring you a builder's view of Venice. Now, most people who visit Venice stick to the crowded areas and they take their selfies in St. Mark's Square, and then maybe, just maybe, they take a trip in a gondola along the Grand Canal. But if you walk through the back streets, you'll see the real city at work. And here are some scaffolders working from their boat to erect scaffolding that's basically being hung from the building, because sinking poles into that mud that lies at the bottom of the canal bed is a little bit hit and miss. Actually, when you think about it, the whole of Venice was built on wooden piles. Thousands and thousands of long tree trunks basically driven down into the mud. They say it was built on 118 islands, but actually, no, it's built on these wooden piles that drive down around the islands and hold the buildings up. And the fact that those wooden piles have never rotted because they're submerged all the time is amazing. Now here, the job is renewing the rendering, and there's a lot of that to do in Venice. Everywhere you look, there's plastering and rendering hanging off the buildings. So if you're a Venetian plasterer, you're never going to be short of work. But if you're working on outside rendering, you really need to know about the tides. Beware the tides. Oh no, that's the Ides. Not only are the buildings in Venice sinking, they're also leaning and bulging. They're on the move every way you can imagine. And most of these houses have wall ties going through their entire length and breadth. And just look at that little brick repair there. Vertical bricks on edge. The workers in Venice are often dressed in high-vis suits, so you can see them, and there's usually quite a lot of them, because the Italians love a crowd. Well, after all, they're sociable people, nothing wrong with that. Now these guys are working on a gas main, and in the background you can see 3 firefighters who just stay there all day in case the gas catches fire. But they don't have a fire engine or even a fire barge, but what they do have is 2 fire extinguishers. That's 2 fire extinguishers among 3 people. Oh, I get it, one of them's a trainee. Now, here's a guy working on a power supply, and he has his high-vis and he's tied into the ladder, he's got his harness, and that's all great, full marks there, but what's the ladder tied into? I've looked carefully at this photograph to see if I'm missing something, but there is just nothing tying that ladder. It seems to be held in just by his weight, and I don't even know if that's possible. Hopefully he'll be okay, but if something untoward does happen, then don't worry, because Venice has a very fine fleet of extremely fast water ambulances that deliver you right into the hospital. The barge actually goes into the hospital. How clever is that? And here come the bin men. And they've got to duck, obviously, to get under that bridge. And don't forget, when you put the bins out, make sure they're really close to the water's edge, because these guys have got a nice little high-ab crane that they just swing round, pick up your bin and pop it into the correct recycling container. Gone are the days when the Venetians threw their rubbish out of the window and into the canal. And here is a zinc rainwater pipe, not so craftily concealed inside the brickwork, and looking at that large damp patch, it seems like it just goes nowhere from there. Oh well, in Venice a little bit of damp is nothing to get alarmed about. Now this guy's done this before, but look at the protection on the corner of that building, and it just goes to show you that not everybody who drives a boat in Venice is as skillful as this fella. The green boat Francesca is actually a builder's merchant's delivery barge, and when he cranes this full pallet of cement off in one go, it looks like the barge might tip over, but he's done it before. Perhaps that's why he's standing on the opposite side, as a bit of ballast. Now this is the same site, and you can see how they've put down the steel piling sheets and pumped out the water behind it, and then they fill the void with rapid setting concrete. But it's even more amazing when you think that they were doing basically the same thing 500 years ago. And here's a bit more scaffolding, and this time the poles are in the mud. Let's hope they don't sink. And here we've got more men in high-vis jackets doing, well, not very much. Maybe this is the lunch break, and maybe they're waiting for the pizza delivery boat to arrive. So here these guys have got a cable run off a coil all across the pavement, and people are walking by, maybe not exactly looking at their feet, maybe they're looking at the view at the canal or something, and well, what could possibly go wrong? Now these bridges are very pretty, but maybe not so nice when you have to drag a trolley load of tools across them to reach your job site. Should have got yourself a boat, mate. You don't have to speak the language to know what this guy's thinking. Who the do you think you're photographing? It's alright fellas, it's not about you, it's about what's inside those lovely red boxes. And just in case you think that everything in Venice was built hundreds of years ago, here's a bit of modern stuff. Charming, it isn't. And here's a crane going off to do some heavy lifting. And just when he starts to pick up a bit of speed, he gets pulled up by the boys in blue. Driving license? MOT? Insurance? Americano Espresso. That'll do nicely. So I hope you enjoyed that, and who knows, when this lockdown lifts we might even get to Venice and talk to those people about Rising Dam. Stay safe and come back to Skill Builder soon.